Good afternoon, friends. So here we are, to discern whether this is the time to extend the kind of simplification and renewal process so many of us have been involved with locally and regionally, to the way our central committees are structured and undertake their work. I want to suggest first why this is an important issue, and then rehearse the issue before us so we can be ready to take the question into our worship together. For me, there are four key elements to the Quaker way. The first and the foundational element is our belief, our experience, that we can all have a direct encounter with the divine. Second, given that this encounter is the heart of the Quaker faith, we've adopted a way of worship that collectively nurtures this experience, that allows us to set self aside and open ourselves to Spirit. Third, as a group led by the Spirit, we've needed to develop ways of discerning what is and what is not of God. Fourth, we've found that a particular lifestyle, our lived testimony to the grace of God in our lives, emerges from the transforming experience of encounter. The Quaker way is simple, and simple in some ways and radical in many. It's a faith in which, in theory, no one is excluded or marginalized. Everyone, we know and say, is invited to the table. However, we've also made it complex, setting up more appointed roles than we have members and very many committees. We're keen on setting things up and not always good at laying things down. This can make our committee work onerous, and within our communities, we're not always inclusive or kind with one another. When someone shows an interest in Quakerism, I often wonder what we're inviting them into. A way of deepening their spiritual life in the company of other seekers? Or a life, for those who find it works for them, of rotating and endless role-holding and committee work? These are not mutually exclusive, but sometimes we can get so fixated on our structures and practices that we can lose the fact that at our heart, our primary purpose is to gather as a loving, worshipping community. To be Quaker is to gather for worship. All we do can and should flow from our ability to open ourselves to God and respond obediently. We have found that as friends, we're essentially and primarily called into worshipping community, to nurture that sense of encounter, to be open to the Spirit, and to respond to the promptings of love and truth in our hearts. As Quaker faith and practice tells us, we're a community led by the Spirit, gathered and guided by God. Our church affairs are discerned through worship. As the postcard reads, I am a Quaker. In case of emergency, please be silent. Discernment in worship is central to our ability to remain a faithful people of God. And over the centuries, we've honed and adapted our practices in order to maintain a system of faithful listening. And wonderfully, we're also a community joyfully on the move. Over the last century, we've emphasized being open to new light from whatever source it may come. As such, we are a people of faith forever in transition. We celebrate not having the answers, only ones that are partial, provisional, or personal. The spiritual enterprise for us is not about finality or certainty, rather an exciting path of inward collective exploration. As British Quakers today, we could never imagine having the complete picture about the mystery of faith, and indeed are rather cautious about those who claim they do. We're impelled to be open, always traveling, always seeking. Journeying for us is the authentic spiritual path. It is not about evolution, but about being open to where we are led. Nothing need be fixed in our ever-open tradition. Rather, as Quaker faith and practice reminds us, to be faithful is to be open to change, to be open to new leadings and insights. To remain faithful is to engage in expectant waiting, and to know that in response to whatever question we want to bring into worship, that there will be a divine response. Everything is always up for spiritual grabs, as it were. But we can also always be given the answers for now. It's a pretty amazing way of being spiritual. My local and area meeting have undertaken roles audits, cut back on the number of role holders, and simplified our structures. We've refocused our energies into our worshipping life and renewed our sense of universal participation and fellowship. We're trying to live the idea that we are all cherished children of God, each with our part to play. I know other meetings have done the same. George Fox talked about knowing things experimentally or experientially, and we can experiment. Wonderfully, we can take our beloved society in any direction we feel we are led. So the question before us is whether this is the time to be open to new light regarding the way we structure our central committees. And if it is, if we are ready and willing to do this as a yearly meeting, what kind of structure can we discern that will match our sense of the spiritual imperative to be simpler, more inclusive, and more sustainable? What simpler structure can we imagine? How can we be more inclusive? What structure will best invite in those who, in spite of our claim of equality, currently feel excluded? How can we be more sustainable? What structure will best allow us to release the joy and energy that comes with the transforming nature of our encounter with Spirit? If we're not joyful in our service, if our energies are constrained, if some groups are left out, we've lost the sense of worship at the heart of all we hope to do. we're left with duty, obligation, contract, not the power of covenant, nor a way of working for God's loving purposes with God's help. We become narrowly task-focused, limited in our vision and in our abilities to hope and create beyond our merely human imagination. We leave some friends out in our bid to get things done. We lose our sense of an accompanied life. We stop acting as co-agents with Spirit. So, wherever we do end up on this issue, I hope we can move our work forward with joy, energy, and tenderness. In short, are we ready to explore what kind of central committee structures we need to best help us dwell joyfully and faithfully and all together in the presence of God? And if so, what kind of structures are best going forward for the future of our Quaker work? Trustees have been doing a lot of work to help us begin to think about this issue. But the decision rests with us as the yearly meeting in session. What do we discern?